Okay, Duck tells the story of a recently widowed homeless man who is saved from the brink of suicide after forming the most unlikely of connections with a duck. Yes, you heard that right. Duck is the brainchild of writer-director Nic Bettauer, an extremely gifted filmmaker whose previous feature film effort was 1998's romantic comedy Zack and Reba. With Duck, Miss Bettauer delivers a beautifully open-hearted film that inspires both honest tears and joy, while at the same time subtly exposing a government and a culture that carries less and less regard for its disenfranchised. Central to the film's effectiveness is its powerhouse lead performance from one of our greatest actors, Philip Baker Hall. Over the past 40 years, Mr. Hall has crafted an exceptional career on stage, film, and television. He electrified audiences and critics with his tour-de-force performance as Richard Nixon in Robert Altman's film Secret Honor, and later skyrocketed with a stunning trio of performances in Paul Thomas Anderson's Hard Eight, Boogie Nights, and Magnolia. And just take a listen to some of these other terrific films that grace his resume: Midnight Run, Air Force One, The Truman Show, The Talented Mr. Ripley, Rules of Engagement, Dogville, In Good Company, and of course Zodiac, our favorite film of last year.
Yes.
In addition, he has enjoyed over 200 guest roles on some of our most beloved series, including timeless turns in both Seinfeld and Curb Your Enthusiasm. It is a tremendous pleasure to welcome both Nic Bettauer and Philip Baker Hall to Movie Geeks United. Mr. Hall and Miss Bettauer, are you both with us?
I'm here.
Hey, Philip.
Hi, Nick.
Hey, Jamie. Hey, Dad.
Hi, Jamie.
It's great to have you both with us. I can't tell you how thrilled I am to discuss this film with you. It's such a gorgeous little film, and it moved me so much. Maybe let's start out with you, Nick. If you could tell me about the origins of the film, because you seem to have drawn inspiration for it from a series of personal experiences, didn't you?
Yeah, usually my ideas come from a moment in real life, because I love documentaries the most, actually. And this idea came to me when I was living at MacArthur Park, which is this kind of raucous, sprawling urban park in the middle of Los Angeles, and I was working at a homeless shelter and going to grad school. And they closed the park because it was at a time when they were closing a lot of public parks, and it was, a really bad time for crime and crack and AIDS and you name it. And they shuttered the whole thing and kicked out all the homeless people and the ducks. And I found myself coming back each evening after class and watching it from my balcony and wondering where all the homeless guys who I knew and the ducks, which I knew too, because that's where I used to walk around when I had writer's block, where they were all going to go. And it was this strange image of this man and this duck looking for a life in Los Angeles in a world where their lives were no longer valued. That kind of stuck with me. So that was the core of the idea, and Duck is the cautionary tale / urban fable that I ended up creating around that.
Did once that inspiration hit you, did it come out fairly quickly? I mean, in script form?
I didn't write the script for a long time, actually, and so the script is informed by a lot of things that have happened since, both politically and personally, like weird jobs I've had while trying to work in the film industry as well. So I didn't write it till years later, but then when I did write it, I sat down and started writing it, and it did happen pretty quickly. I wrote it fairly quickly as kind of a response to the war, and pretty much started pre-production the day I finished writing it, because I didn't really expect anyone to finance it at a company per se. So
I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you about the struggles of financing the film. But Mr. Hall, I'm sure that you've seen many scripts come through your desk. But what struck you about this particular one when it came your way?
Well, excuse me, I have a little bronchitis going myself.
Uh-oh.
I'm on intimate terms with Mr. Bronchitis. But what really struck me about this script, other than how gracefully it was written, there's a kind of an elegance in the writing, in the characterizations, as delineated by Nick that I love. But what really kind of arrested my interest here, we've seen a lot of films, buddy films, as it were, over the years, whether it's with a central character and an animal, and there have been a number of those charming and sentimental films And, of course, the conventional buddy film, normally with 2 men, occasionally 2 women. But what's different about this film is it is not only an explanation of character, and not in a sentimental vein, I don't believe, really, but it deals with some really important issues. And it uses the characters and the bond between the duck and the man as a means to explore a lot of really crucial issues. And as she said, she wrote it after 2001. So
yeah, and I found that to be the case too. It's beautiful in the way that it doesn't preach to you. It doesn't scream out message film.
Right.
It's just intrinsic to those characters' journeys, you know. And Nic, I know that this had to have been a tough balancing act because like Mr. Hall said, it could easily veer into too much sentimentality or sappiness or preachiness. But what was the key to achieving that kind of balance when you're putting the story together?
You know, it's funny because Philip and I were talking about this because we just did a director commentary for our DVD, and I never really intellectually thought very much about it when I was writing it. It was kind of a gut emotional thing, and I actually think that's why maybe it works a bit universally in terms of, I've seen it in a bunch of different countries, because it's really just a human story. But I don't I don't really, you know, now we're answering all these questions and kind of post-haste intellectualizing it, but I don't really rationalize and think that way. And we were laughing because when we just basically, like, Philip and I met, I mean, he read it, he just got it, and we never really had time or, you know, for a lot of chit-chat. I mean, it's really fun now, but it's interesting to see these things in there, and I didn't kind of consciously put them in per se. It was just based, I guess, on looking at really what's going on here at home in our society a bit. But, yeah, I mean, I'm just going to ramble on that one because I really can't put it into words.
Well, it's also refreshing because it's a film for the entire family, too, that every generation of a family can enjoy watching together, I believe. And I actually think I read an interview with you, Mr. Hall, where you were delighted to do a film that your grandchildren could watch with
yes,
you.
I was. It's hard to find a film these days that kids can watch.
Yeah. Did you write this role with Mr. Hall in mind, Nic?
I didn't, but just to go back to something Philip just said, you know, we've been the kind of on the circus roadshow of film festivals and the like together, and it's been great because Philip's been traveling along with me and his family. But we did see the movie with one audience that was like kind of disenfranchised, cool youth, like up around Berkeley. And it was great because they were like cheering for him like he was an action hero. You know, it was my two action heroes. But to answer the question, I did not write the movie with Philip in mind. I try to really divorce myself from thinking of any particular actor when I'm writing because you can get really lazy and think of you know, all the great things they bring to the role and not write it into the character. But usually the minute I'm done with something, I'll glom onto someone in my head, and if it kills me, I'll get it to them. And that was Philip. So
that must have been thrilling when he agreed to do it.
That was a great moment. You know, there are these real highs.
Yeah.
And you know, a lot of slogging through, and a lot of the times, you know, if you shoot high, that's the person who actually really comes through and helps you because they can and they want to and they will, and that was one of those defining great moments when he said yes. Well,
Mr. Hall, were you at all scared or hesitant to take on the project? Because, well, first of all, it's obviously an independent feature. It's made on kind of a shoestring. That's just the nature of it. And two, that you do have to play most of your scenes opposite a duck. Was there any hesitancy on your part?
Well, there wasn't any. I thought about it a lot. I didn't have a lot of time to think about it, though, because actually from the time that I got the script until we began to shoot, there were only a few weeks in there. And once I said yes, I really couldn't. I couldn't have backed out even if I had wanted to. I mean, just from an ethical point of view, it wouldn't, and I didn't want to. But so I had very little time to have any recriminations. All I had time to do, barely, was to learn the lines.
Right.
And that's what I did for the couple of weeks I had before we began to shoot. there was no time for recriminations or regrets to sneak in there. There were too many lines to learn.
Yeah, I never thought I'd ask this question, but how was it playing opposite a duck? Was there? Did you develop a rapport in a way through production?
Well, of course, as you're probably aware, when you do films with animals, there's usually more than one animal playing the role for all kinds of reasons. And so we had more than one duck. A fully grown duck of that genus looks like another duck of the same age. So you can substitute ducks because this type of duck, because they all look sort of the same. But it was discovered early on in the shooting that among the ducks that were available to us, and there were quite a few actually available to us, some were better at certain things than others. A certain duck listened very well. Another duck would display frustration or anger better. Another duck might move on cue more reliably. So we did have a number of ducks to use in a given scene. I think our favorite duck was one that listened well because I had to do a lot of talking and he had to do a lot of listening.
Sure, yeah.
So now, as far as developing a rapport, I was dealing with a different duck, often several ducks in the same day of shooting. So I can't talk about developing a rapport with a particular duck, but I did begin to develop some, at least, sensibility about, I don't know if duck psychology, but just in terms of handling a duck and working with the closeness and trying to give an illusion of contacting the duck and receiving some sort of intelligence back. I say an illusion because a duck is not like a dog or even a cat in that respect. Ducks do seem to be different, and of course their eyes, are on the side. So when you're looking at a duck, you're really seeing sort of the sides of their eyes. So it's not a face like a face that kind of moves you like a dog's face or a cat's face,
right?
Let alone a human face. So there's a lot of, as it were, sort of theatrical legerdemain involved, I think, in working with an animal like a duck, which basically is not responsive in the way that a dog or a cat would be.
Right.
So, and I'm not derogating that. I'm just saying that was a fact of it. So, given the fact I was working with a number of ducks, and also the ducks do not respond the same way that the domestic animals would, it was kind of a balancing act on my part. And my concern mostly, really, in the scenes that we had together, was that it looked as if we were together, that it looked as if we belonged together, and it looked as if we took delight or comfort in each other's company. And that's what I was really working for.
And then you absolutely achieved it, and it's a credit to you because it does, the scenes do feel like you're, in a sense, playing off one another, where you could have easily been acting, across from it might have come across like you're acting a monologue across from a brick wall, but in fact, there seems to be this chemistry that kind of grows between the two of you throughout the movie. And
well, I do feel good about it, and of course, Nick even more than I have, but we both have seen the film many, many times.
Yeah.
So I'm happy when I watch it. I mean, I believe in the belief.
Yes.
When I see it. A lot of times when you see your own movies, you kind of cringe for all kinds of reasons. Well, you feel you could have done it better, or you feel there's some false notes there. And but with this film, I don't feel that. I feel that Joe and I, or the various Joes and I, with Nick as our promoter, that we did contact each other in some way, and that it's believable on the screen.
And we shot it so that, it's really the two of them within the frame, and it's not just manipulative and cheated through editing. So you really, I think you really do get the sense that they interact. The one thing about the ducks is they are social and curious, and so those are good qualities to have as an actor.
That's
true.
I think it's true.
Essential.
Yes.
I think it's essential that you do feel that relationship and that bond, because I think the whole theme of of this character's journey is, I think, forgive me, I'm paraphrasing, but a line that he has that I like having you here because it reminds me that I'm here too.
Yes.
That's really the crux of that character's journey.
That's a notable scene in the movie too, because that's the particular scene where we bring him home for the first time, and I try to feed him, and I follow him all over the living room and the kitchen and throw the bread down for him, and so that's a series of important moments there. But that scene, which is like 4 minutes or 4.5 minutes or something. There are no edits in that scene. That scene went from start to finish. That scene is as you see it. No green screen there, or anywhere for that matter in the movie.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Nic, tell me about the Los Angeles that you wanted to portray in this story.
Well, first let me say that I am a lover of Los Angeles. I'm a transplanted New Yorker, now a Venice girl, but basically the society that's portrayed is, it's slightly in the future, so as to be not just kind of moaning about our times, but allow a little bit of time and hope for a change, but also not so far away to be irrelevant. But it's really speaking about a little bit where we're headed in our times now. It's kind of one where like social services and social graces are both gone, and people just it's the next presidential election, but it's kind of talking about what's going on a little bit domestically today, and just what you said, you described the film so eloquently, kind of about the disposable people and things within our society, as far as are concerned.
And I see that we're probably going to see a lot more films on these themes in the future as these problems become more and more prevalent in this country. So I applaud you for tackling these issues with the film you have here. But another thing I was very impressed by was the music you have in this film. I mean, I am a sucker for anything Tom Waits or Leonard Cohen, and so I was in heaven watching this movie just for the music alone. How did you manage those great artists and those? Oh,
I'm so glad. I love doing that part of it. I was determined not to like my temp track more than my final my final mix. So basically, the same way I pursued Philip, I would try to get to the artist directly. It's bookended with Leonard Cohen, and there's Eels, which is a very LA group that I love, and David Byrne, who do the songs, and then the rest of the score is original by Alan Lazar, and he's done a beautiful job weaving it all together. But for the kind of, there's a lot of silence in the film where the lyrics of the songs are almost, the dialogue of the script. And the songs weren't written for the movie, but it was really fun in editing to just try to place things and play them and see if they worked. And if I fell in love with something, I would, on a rough cut level, at least put the music in and try to get it to the artist and get a yes from them, and then it just happened to work. But those were big moments, I'd forgotten what it felt like to be so nervous, but when I was waiting to hear back from Leonard Cohen, I felt almost as bad as when I was waiting to hear back from Philip.
Yeah, I mean, these are icons. I mean, these are, and Tom Waits is the opening song of the film, isn't it?
The opening song is actually Leonard Cohen.
It is a Cohen.
What's funny is Tom Waits is my other love, but he's not in the movie, and I fully expected and wanted him to be, but I couldn't afford it anymore, and the pieces I had tried, they didn't work as well for some reason. I'm not next one.
Well, just to give you a sense, from watching that first scene with the Leonard Cohen music and with Mr. Hall in the bedroom with the plants and I was just in tears. I mean, from the opening minutes of the film, it just moved me so much.
It's amazing to me. He's talking about his little room, and the lyrics are so. Yeah, I mean, it was one of those things when my editor and I placed it. We're like, that's it. And then it was just a question of trying to get the rights, and Leonard was terrific.
Mr. Hall, you've been acting for such a long time now. I'm wondering if the rewards or your reasons for doing it are the same as when you started out? Have they deepened or changed at all as the years have gone by?
Excuse me.
I'm sorry, I have the same problem. So
I don't know. Did you hear that whistling sound?
Yeah, it's all gone now. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think my hopes and dreams and intentions here have been pretty consistent over the years. I started I started professionally when I was about 30, and I think I think I was hoping at that time for quick fame and quick riches on the one hand. On the other hand, I was always looking for a certain kind of material that somehow allowed us to go a level or two deeper. And in fact, I didn't really do any films until I moved to Los Angeles in 1975.
Right.
And I started in New York in 1960. So, and I never even thought of myself as a film or a television actor. And it was in the theater really that I found the kind of depth and the kind of roles and the kind of challenge that I felt I was right for.
Yeah.
And I was kind of surprised, actually, many, many years later when I found myself doing film and television, because in the beginning, of my career, I did not anticipate ever doing a film or any TV. I thought I would have a career as a theater actor. And
well, the film and television both really took off. I mean, that's obvious.
Yes, my life changed significantly after I came
Yeah, thank goodness for that. We've all been the benefactors of that. I wanted to ask you about another previous film you did, but we just got a question on the chat room, and they want to know about your creative collaboration with Paul Thomas Anderson. Obviously, it's been a very fruitful one for both of you. What is that like?
Well, I met Paul when he was a production assistant, a volunteer production assistant, on a movie that I was doing for public television, and he was just there really as an observer to watch a movie being made and to watch actors, and that's where we got to know each other. And he we were there together for a week or so on that film, and he said that he had a script with a role in it that was really good for me, but it would be more in the nature of a student film because he didn't really have any money, but he had some equipment that he had access to.
Right.
And he asked me, could he send me a copy of that script, which was called Coffee and Cigarettes. That's right. And it was a 28-minute sort of mini drama. Mm-hmm. And he sent me that in the mail. I still remember vividly receiving that in the mail. This sort of kid, I mean, he was really young then, that I met in this offhand way. And this script was it was unsurpassingly brilliant. Uh-huh. Now, as a theater actor, and by then I had done a fair amount of film and television, I had read a lot of scripts. I was also a literature major in college, and theater literature was sort of my specialty, my special interest. So I was blown away. I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, it was it was. I was struck dumb by the quality of the writing in this short film.
And he's only getting better, isn't he?
And I knew literally instantly. My wife is a witness, and some friends are too, whom I remember calling and reading some dialogue on the phone, as in, let me read you this first page of dialogue from a script I got in the mail an hour ago. You won't believe this. And who is it? Everybody wanted to know. And I said, it's nobody you would know yet. It's a kid. I said, but this is a genius. I mean, there was no question about it. Absolutely no question.
And you're great. You're a great acting hero of ours on the show. And perhaps selfishly, I want to ask you about another hero of mine in the field of acting who you've worked with. And that's Al Pacino in The Insider. And
in The Insider.
This is an actor that I study every role he does, and I honestly tell you that my favorite moment in any Pacino film takes place in a scene that you share with him in The Insider, when he goes through his very inspiring speech about corporate responsibility, and he feels betrayed when everyone in the room is against him. It's almost like a moment of total deflation.
Yes. Yes.
Can you talk to me about the experience of acting across from him and any memories you have of that scene?
Yes, Al has been a particular hero of mine also over the years, and I was involved for a short time with him in a theater project in New York, which never happened. It didn't come off, but we had a few rehearsals, but I don't think he remembered that when I was cast in The Insider. It wasn't a good experience, the one from 30 years earlier, so I'm glad he didn't remember it. So we met really fresh, but I remembered it, but he didn't. But I've been a great admirer of Al. Al is a very, very great and special actor. And in our we had a number of scenes together in The Insider. I remember very much the one that you're speaking about. Al is difficult to work with because he works from a certain inner position, and he does not quite let you in there. I mean, it's part of how he works. It's part of what has made him the great. Great. I mean, he's a great, great actor, no doubt about it. And it's part of what has made him the great, great actor that he is. But there's an area there that you can't get into when you work with Al. Now, I don't know what his feminine co-stars think in terms of more intimate kinds of love scenes and things. But I know that as a male actor working with him, that we had in some way to come together in ways, and it's very difficult. He won't let it happen. So, it doesn't mean he's better or worse as an actor. But just watching, I taught acting too, on and off over a period of years.
Yeah.
And of course, I've been acting since I was really a child, actually. So I've been at this a long time. So I'm really curious when I work, especially with some of these gigantic, especially dramatic superstars,
right,
in how they work and how they approach the work and how they are to work with. And I found Al, I found him respectful, and I found him, I would say, fraternally convivial in a way, and friendly on the set. But in terms of the work, together with him, toe-to-toe, and I had some scenes in that movie, eye-to-eye, toe-to-toe,
right,
with Al. And I have to say, I was a little intimidated also coming into that. And first I was afraid we'd have a flashback to the bad experience we had in 1971 or whenever it was, which I don't think he did. But I was just intimidated. His position is just gigantic in film and film history.
Yeah.
So I was definitely intimidated a little bit.
Well,
but I found him respectful and convivial, but not encouraging. Let me put it that way. He was not encouraging, and he must have seen my fear at a couple of points in our work together. So anyway, that's my short story.
Well, thank you for that. You don't know how you've made my month, made my year. Any Pacino story I could get. Nic, tell me what you want people to take away from your film Duck, and tell us how we can learn more about it, how my listening audience can find it.
Oh, thank you. I guess what to take away, if you see the movie and after you've seen it, it kind of changes the way maybe you view some of the people around you. That's always a nice thing. To me, it's a little bit of a survival story about what it takes to want to survive, and it's different for all the characters in the movie, and it's different for all the people in life. But I'm always kind of blown away by people's just fight and instinct to survive lives that you might not think you'd want to were you in their situation, and here's to that. But Duck mostly is just a warning as to where we're heading in the hopes of creating a change, because I think that the two things key to survival for me are hope and possibly the ability to adapt. But you can check out the movie on www.duckthemovie.com, and you can get a hold of us that way. And I think that Warner Brothers is bringing it out on demand February 4th, and the DVD will be coming out it's looking
April?
like a June 3rd street date. I think we've played the theaters we're going to play so far to date, and we're going to do that right now.
Well, it's a beautiful, it's such pure of heart, this film, and I can't recommend it highly enough. And thank you both so much for making it, and thank you both so much for being on our show. You're welcome back whenever you'd like.
And thank you guys for being out there. Like, it's all about the audience stuff, so it's so nice to connect with someone else through a film. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you both so much, Nick and Mr. Hall. Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye-bye now.
Talk to you again. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye-bye.
Bye, Philip.
Bye, Nick.